Hey, what's going on, people? Just here on the road, and I wanted to tackle a particular subject. Now, I've been asked this question for many years, and I've seen that lately a lot of the controversy. There's been a lot of controversy over the term, or what the term means, with the whole Afro-Latino term or concept or whatever it is. Now, the reason why I've been asked that question, for those of you that might not know, I was born in a Central American country called Panama. Many people think Panama is an island. Panama is actually not an island. It's what is known as an isthmus. It's part of Central America. It's mainly known for its canal, the Panama Canal, which was under the control of the American government till the year 2000. So I've had a lot of people ask me, like, throughout the years, what do I consider myself? Am I Latino? What are you, Panamanian? What are you, this, that, and the other? And what I've always told people is I'm black. And I've gotten into conversations with family members, with people, general people. No, you're Latino, but you're Spanish, and I'm like, I'm not Spanish. Spanish is the language that I learned to speak because I was living in a Spanish-speaking country. That was the language. I'm not Spanish by DNA because I'm not European. You know what I'm saying? I'm of Afro descent, my way of life, I'm an Israelite, but our DNA is of those, it's black people DNA, regardless of whether we were born in Panama or Santo Domingo or Ecuador or whatever. It doesn't change what you are inside. It's like if a German Shepherd is born in America, he's still called a German Shepherd. If he's born in Central America, he's still a German Shepherd. So when I get into these discussions with people, they kind of don't understand. I mean, for most part, most of my friends are from what you call quote unquote African Americans, and I'm accepted and everything is cool because we are the same people in reality. The way I've always looked at it is, if we all standing on the corner and we all have the same hue, the same skin complexion, and we're standing on the corner, if you're born in Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Panama, Ecuador, they don't look at that one is Panamanian, that one is Dominican, that one is this, that one is that. They just look at all of us and say, look at those, what, standing on the corner. So it's not, that never been difficult for me. It's never been difficult for me, but I see that there's a lot of conversation about it. I think the problem is that, and a lot of Spanish, and why some people, that black people that come from Spanish-speaking countries have a difficulty accepting what they are, is because of the traditions of the particular places that they come from, and being black is not embraced. When you look at TV shows, there's not that many black people portrayed in positive positions. When you look at the news, you don't see that many black people. You don't see that many black TV shows. You don't see anything that portrays black people really in a positive light. So it's like anything else. If you grow up in a place where they're not portraying your people as being beautiful, you're always going to want to be and strive to be like other people. Thus, when you get people that come here from Spanish-speaking countries and they're black or from Afro descent, you hear them talk about, I'm Dominican, I'm Panama. No, but you're black. No, I'm not black. I'm Dominican, because they associate black with being something bad. or they associate black with being an Afro-American, and they don't want to be that, But in all reality, we're all connected. Our DNAs, we just got dropped off in different ports in different parts of the world. And we all went through, all these places went through colonialism, and we were all brought as slaves to work the land. In particular, Dominicans, they look at themselves, if they're dark skinned, they won't claim they Afro heritage or they black heritage. A lot of them will say, I'm Indian, because they're dark skinned, and they might have a little straighter hair than others because of the mixture, but they won't associate with they black DNA at all. And that's because there's been systemic brainwashing in places like Santo Domingo, where they despise anything that has to do with Afro descent. And you could see that in the rule that they passed, where they try to expel all the Haitians that were in Santo Domingo. Now, for those of you that don't know, La Isla de Hispaniola, which is called before it was split into Santo Domingo and Haiti, is the same landmass. Haiti and Santo Domingo share the same landmass. So naturally, there's a mixture of some of the people. But there was a general or a president by the name of Trujillo, if I remember my history correctly, from Santo Domingo, that massacred, I believe they said, over like 20,000 Haitians by a river that separates the two countries. So the struggle of black people is not taught. Lighter is made to be better in some of these countries, and black people are looked down at. And you could see it if you look at a Spanish novella. For example, there was a Spanish novella portraying the life of one of the most famous black artists that the quote unquote Latin community has seen, Celia Cruz. Now, Celia Cruz was dark like me, maybe even darker. She from Cuba, originally from Cuba. She left Cuba because she was against the whole Castro regime. And she never got to go back to Cuba. She died, living outside of Cuba. But they did a novella on her, which is like a soap opera on her life. And they portrayed her as being a black woman, Celia Cruz, the main character, but they portrayed her sister as being a Spanish-looking woman. Now, her sister that had the same mother and father, I believe, they portrayed her as that. And when you look at Celia Cruz's sister in real life, she did not look like that. She looked just like a black woman, like a regular black woman. So these are the kind of images that they try to push, They try to push the J-Los and the Sofia Vergaras. They try to push those type of women, but all these quote unquote Latin countries or Spanish speaking countries have a great population of black people, large population of black people. So when the women, the young girls and the young men grow up just seeing this, they begin to have a low self-esteem and a low self-value of themselves because of the way that they look. So they strive to be like the people that they see on TV constantly, who they're telling them is beautiful. It's the same concept that they did everywhere, just that in America, black people, or a lot of black people, if I could put it, have learned to embrace their blackness. You have people like Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King and people like this, Marcus Garvey, who came over from the Caribbean, and you have movements like the Black Panther movement or the Nation of Islam, right? And even Hebrew Israelites who have taught black people to embrace who they are. to embrace what you are and who you are, and that black is beautiful. Artists like James Brown that told you, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Unfortunately, in the Spanish or in the Latin countries, the colonialism is still strong, and you don't have too many people that are in the forefront screaming it out and saying it loud. So am I Latin, Afro, how they call it, Afro Latino? There's nothing Latin about me. I don't speak the Latin language. You know, I don't describe myself as being Afro Latino. I describe myself as being a black man living in America, although I was born in a Spanish-speaking country in what they call a quote-unquote Latin country. I'm not Spanish because I'm not a Spaniard. And if I went into Spain and started talking about I was Spanish, they would laugh at me because I'm not Spanish. They understand that I'm not Spanish. So these different concepts and all these different things that's out there is preposterous. What people have to understand is that black people around the world, you got to understand that we're the same people. We go through the same struggles. You know, like I look in the NBA and they got the this guy that plays for the Milwaukee Bucks. They call him the Greek Freak. I think his name is like Giannis Antetokounmpo, something like that. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. You know, the Greek people are going to take claim to him, but in his country, do people that look like him get treated nice? You know, in places like Italy, you know, and places like that, in Europe and places like that, he still goes through the same struggle. He still go through the same struggles. You got another basketball player by the name of Ilario Nene. He plays, I believe he plays for the Rockets right now. He's from Brazil, but he looks just like us. So we're all black. You know, and that's another part that we get lost. You know, a lot of time we just concentrate on the American struggle of slavery, but a lot more of us went in that transatlantic slave trade, ended up in Brazil. So we have to look at things from different perspectives. So getting back to the subject, I'm not Latin. I'm not an Afro-Latino. I'm black. Now, there's a thing in the quote-unquote Latino or Afro-Latino population where you might have that grandmother or aunt or something that tells you that you have to improve the race. It's a term in Spanish that they say mejorar la raza. Mejorar la raza mean if you're dark like me or darker than me, they want you to marry someone lighter in order to lighten your gene pool so that you won't have the stigma of, your children won't have the stigma of having dark skin. This was taught within the family. This was the brainwashing. And this was also the brainwashing of colonialism, where people were made to hate who they were, right? No different than what you seen, you know, during Jim Crow era in America or you know, during the, you know, right after slavery and things like that. But like I said, black people in America had strong leaders to teach them to embrace who they were. So you might still see it in some parts and segments of black community here in America, but not as blatant as it is in what we will call Spanish-speaking countries. So these are things that we have to keep in mind. These are things that we have to understand with different cultures and stuff like that. Black people learn to, no matter where you're from, no importa de dónde vengas, si vienes de Panamá, de Cuba, de la República Dominicana, learn to love yourself. Amate por quien tú eres. Love who you are. Love what you are. Learn to embrace everything about you. And there is no difference between us because we all go through the same struggle. Don't be like Sammy Sosa that you hate yourself so much that you begin to bleach your skin. That's a form of self-hatred. I don't care where you come from. In places like Jamaica, they try to tell you that that's a cultural thing. That's self-hate straight up. Self-hate, hating yourself. Love and embrace who you are. We're all black people. We're black people. We were scattered and brought through that transatlantic slavery to all parts of the world. So we must learn to embrace what we are. And just to close out, in a place like Panama, what people don't understand is slaves were brought there initially by the Spaniards to work the land. And places like Portobello, this is like the eastern coast of Panama. They were brought there to work the land because the natives will die off. You know, they weren't strong enough to do it. And what happens is you have some slaves there, but also during the building of the Panama Canal during the early 1900s, a lot of people migrated from islands like Barbados, Jamaica, different islands, but the main migration was from like a place like Barbados and also from Jamaica. So you got a lot of black people there that came from those countries that already had a sense of pride. You understand what I'm saying? And what they were. And when I mean pride, I don't mean like that ego pride, but you know, what we say is pride. So a lot of them, from when you listen to the old timers, like people like my mothers and my mother and my grandmother, they didn't mix with Spanish people. They had a pride about that. They didn't want to mix with Spanish people. They didn't even want to learn they didn't even want to learn Spanish. My generation is the generation that later came and started learning Spanish. But before that, early 1900 to like the 1960s and 50s and even early 70s, a lot of the black people that came from places like Jamaica and Barbados, they went to English speaking schools. Because a lot of them were living in what they call the American zone, right? The people who worked in the Panama Canal zone went to English speaking schools. And they also built some schools of their own. So that's the history of where I come from. So I don't consider myself Afro Latino. I consider myself a black man. Leave comments below. Let me know what you think. Peace out, and may God bless you.